Bonjour mes amis, Lisa Manafrenda, hello my friends. This is Enzo Eigen of the Alliance for Loki. Today's video is the war we just had against NY718, one of the top 4 alliances. I'm running Path 8-7, and I take my usual team of Stark Spider-Man, Void, and Vision. I really like this team. It seems to be able to handle anything on this path pretty well, and so I've been playing this now for 3 or 4 seasons. So my first fight is linked, and then Taters clears me. You can see there's a little bit of a visual bug here because it is still bordered by the purple hue, but it's actually unlinked. So this war, we're taking it easy. So NY718 is one of the best alliances, usually in the top 3. They did suffer a defeat, which means that they won't be able to make the top 3, and they're definitely in Masters. So I don't believe they're setting their best defense in this war. What I'm going to do for this first fight is I'm just going to change my offensive Masters around. So I'm running Suicide right now, both for Arena and for my Alliance Quest team, which is Corvus, Omega Red, and Blade. And so I'm just going to change it just for this fight. So we go itemless in these wars. For Loki's been going pretty easy, and so we're just trying to clear the boss as efficiently as possible just to get reasonable points. And so I'm not too worried about making a perfect mastery, but unfortunately Vision doesn't do well at all with Suicide. She just spams his SP1 too much to be effective, and he loses so much health that I decided to go ahead and change them just for this fight. Since I'm only doing the offensive masteries, that means I can then, after this fight, put my Suicides back on and go back to Arena and Events and the Alliance Quest. And so just changing them all around, and it's pretty easy to do. And this setup I just sort of have that I can change my offensive ability and my proficiency. I always keep the defense the same, so at least I'm just changing 2 of them. It's a little bit like, I can't remember what his name was it Ronan Noop? He had what it was called the Switchblade Mastery setup. So his first fight is against a Sabretooth, even though I don't have the Scour Lens on yet. I know it's going to be Sabretooth. I think maybe the last 6 wars I've lost Sabretooth on this node. Very straightforward fight. You know, just trying to spam the SP1 and keep applying it when he goes down to 0 power, so you put on the heal block. And that way, you know, you keep his healing at bay. So it works pretty well. You can see he's getting a fair bit of heal because I am applying that weakness from Inequity and Resonate, and so he gets the willpower heal, but you know, with heal block on, it absolutely shuts that down pretty well. Interesting to see that I can get 2 bars of power even with the 1 power lock node. Just the way Synthesize works, sometimes you can push through it. I don't really plan to do that in this fight. I mean, I guess I could just hover around a bar of power or keep it at a bar of power, but I'd much rather just keep on throwing it and locking his power down and again keep on applying that heal block. But it is interesting. You can see I almost get a 2nd bar of power there, even though it's essentially at 0 power. So Synthesize is not really affected too much by it. So a fairly straightforward fight. You know, you can see even with a rank 5 Vision, and it still takes a lot of hits to get him down. 43, I guess that's actually not too bad. So that fight is pretty reasonable, and again, I've fought it so many times, that's totally unboosted. So this is the next morning. I've moved up to Morningstar, the mini boss. As I said before, I sort of have these 2 different setups for my masteries. So in this case, I take off my offensive, and I go to my proficiency, and I put enough points to get the mastery Scouter Lens. This of course allows me to see the opponents I'm fighting next, and this is pretty critical when you're fighting an alliance war, of course, because you want to be able to know who you're fighting just to sort of plan or duel if you need to. And so I do that change. Just again, we're going itemless. I don't want to spend items, but I also want to try to get through my path as efficiently as possible, so it helps to see who's ahead. And all the characters I have, they really aren't great with Suicides, Vision, Spider-Man, or Void, so it's worth it to spend 100 units to change them around for me to do these next 4 fights. I do buy the 2 small red and yellow boost as well as put on a 30% boost. I like boosting up for these fights, again, just because I think I'll die really too easily if I don't. especially using a character like Vision. Doesn't hit very hard, and I want to try to get through this as much as I can just to practice. So my first fights against the Morningstar, I really thought a lot of who I want to take into this fight, and I sort of settled on Vision, mostly because the way she would proc bleed when you hit her because of her awakened ability. I don't think I've ever fought a Morningstar in this, and so I was really thinking about the buffet node, and so I was going to try not to dash back too much to try to really get the parries. That way, that doesn't activate her buffet at all, and then get the heal block, of course. That way, if I do accidentally get it, she won't heal up at all. So it's a pretty slow fight, but it works well. Again, you can see there it procs, but I know it's gonna happen a few times. I'm really just trying to keep her power low, and the fight goes pretty well. I mean, Vision is so key in this fight just because he's not taking the bleed at all, so I'd be worried about using someone like Void or even Stark Spider-Man. I mean, I think they'd be just fine against her, but you don't want to lose too much health. Again, this is a zero item war for us, so I don't really have the option to heal up. So you can see it's basically the same thing. I mean, Vision, he can be so powerful. I mean, the power control is, of course, just a really powerful effect, and he builds it up pretty quick. And since she can hardly ever throw a special, I mean, there really is hardly any danger in this fight. And having power control also allows me to stay, very close to her. I'm not having to do a lot of dodging or trying to have her bait her SP1 or SP2. So that also limits the number of times I'm actually getting dexterity in myself. You see during this fight, there's very low dexterity, and that's again really helpful because I don't want to get her to regen. So here, I'm thinking, oh, I got it down pretty low, and then the fight sort of gets extended for a little bit. And again, this is always the problem with Vision. He's not super powerful, so I don't get the heal block there because I let her power build up too much. And so, I'm hoping it's going to be over. Again, it's taking a while, but then finally I do it. So it's long and slow with Vision, and this is a Vision who has a fair bit of buffs on him. I mean, 30% plus the other ones, 117 hits. So he's a great champion, but he just doesn't hit quite hard enough to be that effective. So again, I'm going up to my next node, and I'll use the scouter lens to figure out who I'm fighting. So this next node is the aggression armor, and I often fight a variety of champs here. The most common one is the tech champion Iron Man Infinity War. Sometimes there's a MODOK here, sometimes a Sentinel. A few times recently I've seen a thing on this node, and it's usually not too bad a node. I would mostly use Void on it, especially with Iron Man Infinity War, just because he's an Avenger, and so I get the fear of the Void. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to start Spidey. I take a look at his statistics. I use the Scouter Lens Mastery. That's where I get his attack and his health, and I can go and use that in the table and find out who he is. And I figure out that he is an Iceman, which is a champion I've never really fought here before, but that's fine. And so I go in with Stark Spider-Man, figuring I don't want to use him for my next two fights, the Node 38 and the mini boss on 42. And he also has that nice evade against the SP1, which for the most part is easy to evade, but it can be a little tricky. So the key in this fight is just to sort of fast attack. You have unlimited parries, and so I'm just trying to attack as fast as I can, but of course right at the very beginning I'm like, oh, I should build my poisons up, so I sort of pause and go into poise mode, which works pretty well. Getting poisons up is always a little risky, and in this case, he builds up 10 armor, but you can see I'm still doing pretty incredible damage. I mean, I feel like the critical hits sort of cut through the armor, and so in the case that I'm going against this Iceman, having the poise just allows me to sort of ignore the armor. So here I'm sort of trying to bait the SP2, but I'm getting a little impatient, and then I was like, oh, okay, I can throw my heavy, and that takes care of all that. And he finally throws the special. And now I'm in pretty good shape. Got a lot of poisons, doing big damage, and almost finish him with the SP2, but not quite, and then the shock damage gets him in the end. So that fight went pretty smooth, about as good as I could expect. All the damage, of course, I took was from the cold snap and some of the block damage. So this next node is node 42, and this is the arc reactor, so he gets a good burst of healing every 20 seconds. I usually take Void into this, and I see it's a 6-star rank 2, so I was thinking maybe it's a Domino, and then I do the Scouter Lens, and it ends up being a rank 2 6-star Havoc, which is pretty amazing. So I decided to go in with Vision. So I find Vision really good against Havoc because you can, again, control his power, which also keeps his plasma charges down really low, and so you don't get that detonation on yourself. So I don't really feel comfortable trying to parry him. And there's some mechanic that doesn't allow you to parry him too easily. So in this fight, I'm just going to simply bait the heavy attacks, charge into him, and then I'm really trying to keep my eye on the arc overload timer and match when I'm going to get a heal block with that. So I'm just sort of watching that. I see I have 2 bars of power. I tried to wait as long as I can because now the arc reactor is hit, but luckily the heal block, and it does pretty good. It more or less covers the entire heal block. Actually, I get another attack in with my special and keep his power down. So things are going to plan. Again, just keep on baiting. You can see again, this is a fairly buffed Vision. It's not doing a whole lot of damage. I mean, 2 minutes into the fight, I'm right around 65%. So I'm sort of just a bit ahead of schedule. He gets his arc overload again, and I'm in the right position to make sure that I counter it with my heal block. So that's really the key to this fight. It takes a little bit of looking and spying on him, but for the most part, you can do it without too much trouble. So, I'm always worried when I get in a situation like this where my power starts getting high and I can see it ticking down towards arc overload. So I want to try to get my SP1. I can't really afford to mess this up because, again, you're not doing that much damage. You see it gets a tick there, but then I'm able to stop it with my heal block since I drained all his power with my SP1. And so again, about a minute into the fight, it should be at 33%. I mean, it's close. I mean, you're definitely having to play pretty well, and if he ever was to get a full regeneration in, I mean, that would be pretty big trouble, I think, as far as finishing this fight. Again, here, right as the arc overload's about to hit, I get my special 2 and totally heal block him. So I do have the Assassin Mastery, so I'll be a little bit better once, of course, now he's down at 18%. So even though I'm sort of very close to using up all my time, that mastery is going to help me a lot. So right here, again, a little bit worried because I threw it a little early, and he's about to get that arc overload. I don't have too much shield block left, but I should be able to get my SP1, which I do, and I nail it. And so again, as long as you're able to just make sure he doesn't get the arc overload, I think this is a pretty doable fight. It's not so much worrying about being hit in this fight. It's more just worrying about using not running out of time and timing out. So, but it's a good fight. And again, the Vision, super cool. He wouldn't be able to do it if he wasn't boosted up. I'm almost convinced of that. Suicides, maybe. I think he might take too much damage. I didn't heal him up for full because we're going no item, but that could be could be something to try. I tried suicides against a boss with my Vision not so long ago, against a Thing boss. No, against a Havoc boss, and I got him down to 44%. So I'm not really convinced before I died because of all the recoil damage, essentially. So this last fight is against the mini boss on 52, and it's a Green Goblin. I fought him a lot. My Void was at full strength. I still had my boosts on, so I wasn't too worried about this. This is actually the only time in this entire war I get hit. For the most part, I'm pretty good about dealing with his specials, but his specials are a little bit tricky. I feel like they pop out a little quicker than a lot of other champions. You see over there, for some reason, I accidentally threw it heavy. I just kept my finger on the attack too long. I think I was trying to dash forward, but the other thing you have to worry about is, of course, strike back. So, I'm not too inclined to throw a special until I have a few petrifies up, and then it's actually not too bad. But again, just trying to bait out the SP1. The SP2, I think, is more dodgeable, but it's a little more risky. Like the SP1, I sort of feel like I can see that coming a little better. So I just try again to throw his SP1, and then yeah, exactly. And I can just block that and dodge the last little pumpkin he throws. And so at this point I have 2 petrifies, and so I figure I might as well throw my SP2, and you can see it doesn't really he doesn't gain that much power, so 2 petrifies, I think you're pretty safe. You essentially neutralize strike back. Then you go watch him, we'll get caught by the special 2. You know, I was just sort of walking backwards, and you know, he hits me with the, you know, both of them and the super bomb. Luckily I didn't get incinerated, but you know, still a fair bit of damage from the poison. My willpower's doing a pretty good job of dealing with it. Not too worried about this fight. I have healed the void now, so strike back is really like inconsequential. You know, again, just letting him throw his specials at me, special 1, and yeah, then he's dead. So plus he's taking all that damage from the degeneration of his heal with my heal, Fear of the Void and Petrified debuff. So pretty good fight, I would say. Fought that a lot, and with the Void, it's a really good fight. And so that's the end of my fights, and we do lose this war. Again, we weren't trying to win, we're just trying to clear the boss, but it's always fun to go into war. You know, I still feel a little bit of that pressure to do well, just because, you know, it is war after all, and it's a little more serious, but until the rewards get buff, Poor Loki's going to stay easy on them. So thank you very much for watching. This is Enzo Eigen of the Alliance for Loki. Goodbye.